Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's great. So, exactly. So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have everybody here today. This is our third online seminar. So, of the Center for Leadership and Empowerment, and thanks everyone that has been involved and has participated and has supported the center. The center is growing very well and is based on all your efforts. So, thanks to everybody that is here. Of course, we know we're here today for a very special seminar, and it's by Lawrence, no pressure. So Lawrence has been the facilitator of the last two seminars, and Lawrence was like, okay. So when I spoke to Lawrence, because the way it works is we do an internal and we do an external. So it was time to do an internal. And Lawrence, of course, is leading by example today, and is going to talk about business teachers' beliefs about teaching, learning, and the nature of the subject. I would have, unfortunately, I'm not so prepared, Lawrence. When I read your biography, I just remembered now that I need to read your biography. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry
I,
about that. I think
I
we are all
yeah, I should
yeah.
read your. It's going to be on record.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
please bear with me. I should have planned this better. But let me see whether. Don't worry. I think I should still be
Bro,
able
don't
to.
worry. I think we should just hit the ground running. Yeah.
Okay. Either way, Lawrence is a lecturer of management in the Greater Manchester Business School, University of Bolton. Lawrence has published quite a lot in different high-ranking journals. He's also an alumnus of the University of Oxford as well, so one of the best universities in the UK, but not better than Greater Manchester Business School, I would say. But either way, Lawrence is a very prolific person, a great asset to the business school, and is currently doing his doctoral studies as well as a doctoral researcher. So it's great to have Lawrence here today. But Lawrence is a leadership coach. But today, Lawrence will not be talking about leadership and HR that he's very, very good at. What Lawrence is going to be talking about is business teachers' beliefs about teaching, learning, and the nature of the subject. So today, we'll be learning much more about that subject, because we will know in the world today there is so much emphasis about student experience and what beliefs are, and from the teacher's perspective, but we don't really know so much about the teacher's perspective. And today, Lawrence, based on his research he has conducted over the years, will be sharing more insights on that. So let's let Lawrence take center stage. And Lawrence, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much, Professor Harrison, for that very glowing introduction. Right. Welcome, everyone, to this particular edition of the seminar series here at the Center for Leadership and Empowerment. As Professor Christian Harrison has pointed out, today's session is based on teachers' beliefs about teaching, learning, and the nature of the subject. Particularly, I'm focusing on business teachers' beliefs. So what I've done is, this is part of a research that is ongoing. I've looked at what the literature says about beliefs, and then what is happening in the widening participation space as far as teachers' beliefs are concerned. Okay, so going forward in the next half an hour or so, I'll just give you a little bit of insight into teachers' beliefs. So essentially, we're going to start by just exploring teachers' beliefs, what teachers, what this particular concept means. There are multiple definitions of teacher beliefs, so we'll look at that. I tried to pin down a particular definition as far as this research is concerned. But also we'll look at what teachers believe about teaching, about learners, about learning, and about the nature of the subject. And then we'll look at four main characteristics that are central to teachers' beliefs. And also we'll look at what the literature says about teachers' beliefs in relation to business teachers. Okay? And then I will try to just connect that with business teachers' beliefs in the widening participation context, and that will form the basis of the research aim. And I'll flag up some of the questions that I've asked and the data gathering method that I intend to deploy to be able to investigate this particular issue. Okay. Before we ride on, I would just like to, gauge your understanding of teachers' belief, or just try to find out from you what, the idea of teachers' beliefs means to you. Okay. So when you are asked by someone on the street, what is teachers' belief? What would you tell them?
Beliefs about what is my first question.
Say again, Martin.
Beliefs about what?
Yeah. Just assume that somebody on the street asked you that question. What are your beliefs as a lecturer or as, as an academic? What would you say, Martin?
I'd say you need to refine the question a little bit, but okay. I'd say my beliefs are that I have knowledge and power as a facilitator and as a guide to assist other people in their learning journey. That's one belief. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Martin, for sharing that. We'll come back to that at some point because you've just made a very, very important statement. You've talked about facilitation, which resonates with an aspect of what we're going to be covering today. Yes, any other input from the audience? Lauren, would you like to give us your take on this, please?
Okay, Lawrence, I think for me, teachers' beliefs means like more of your philosophy as a teacher, you're more of your worldview, the kind of thing that guides you. So that's the way I look at my belief.
Thank you very much for that, Professor Harrison. I think that it's also very important. You've talked about philosophy, you've talked about the guiding principles, you've talked about worldview. Excellent. Yes, Dr. Rashid.
Yeah, my belief about teachers' belief is actually like a set of attitudes and values and the convictions that the teachers hold regarding various aspects of teaching and learning.
Excellent. So you've talked about the attitudes, the values, the whole in relation to teaching and learning. Excellent. And I think everything you've said today resonates with the whole idea of teachers' beliefs. So we'll just try to unpack some of the definitions in extant literature as far as teachers' beliefs are concerned. Okay. So as you can see, one of the definitions by Richardson is that beliefs are psychologically held understanding, premises, or propositions about the world, which are considered to be real. So the views, our interpretation, our perspective of the world, which we think is real, that is what Richardson considers to be beliefs. Another scholar, here, went further to say, actually, beliefs are teachers' consciousness of and confidence in the value and relevance of teaching generic skills to students. Okay, so this again highlights the concept of teachers' beliefs. However, some scholars have tried to make a distinction between the beliefs that teachers hold and other ideas such as knowledge, such as emotions, such as feelings, such as perceptions or conceptions of, so people like Pajare, people like Tona, people like, have all touched on the distinction between knowledge and beliefs, between conceptions and beliefs, but also between emotions and beliefs. What this literature suggests is that there is no consensus as to what constitutes beliefs, okay? And that is one of the problematics in the teacher education literature. Beliefs what constitutes beliefs? What are teachers' beliefs? You know, there is a plethora of definitions out there, but there's lack of consensus as to what constitutes belief. There is no generally accepted definition of teachers' beliefs. Okay, and that points to a problem in the literature, the ongoing debate. However, there are certain characteristics, 4 in total, that have been identified, and I think there is a consensus across the board among scholars as to what these characteristics are, you know, that are central to teachers' beliefs. And one of them is that teachers' beliefs define individual mental conceptions, conceptual elements, which constitute subjective truth for the individual concerned. In other words, our beliefs shape and inform how we perceive the world around us, you know, and these beliefs, these perceptions or interpretations are very subjective, okay? But also, another characteristics about beliefs is that they are cognitive, you know, mental images, you know, but also emotional in nature, okay, psychological in nature, okay? So a lot of beliefs are rooted in psychological experiences, but also they are mental pictures that we create, okay? Another characteristics of belief is that they are normally considered stable. So let's say, for example, Martin may have certain beliefs about teaching, about learning, about learners, but also about the whole discipline of business management. Those beliefs will remain relatively stable over time until perhaps Martin goes through an experience that is transformative, a significant experience. It could be training, it could be maybe going for some kind of seminar, or maybe attending a workshop, you know, that will change his view, that will cause a paradigm shift, okay? Another characteristics of belief is that they will considerable influence on how teachers view and interact with issues. And this is really, really important. You know, the beliefs we have about teaching, about learning, about learners, about the, you know, the different subjects we teach, shape and inform how we relate, not only with students in the classroom environment in that space, but also how we, you know, engage with the whole process of teaching. You know, it informs our teaching strategy, it informs how we interact with the learners, and so on and so forth, okay? Any questions as far as these 4 characteristics are concerned? Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
That's-
Martin, thank you very much.
It's a 2015 study, nearly 10 years old. So what are the beliefs about beliefs? Have they, do you believe they've evolved in that time?
Excellent question, Martin. Thank you for that. Yeah, so if you look at the literature on beliefs, a lot has been done in the, you know, on in-service, pre-service teachers' beliefs. A lot has been done at the primary, secondary, tertiary level. A lot has been done on specific subjects like geography, mathematics, chemistry, teachers' beliefs. Okay, but there is very little on teachers' beliefs, particularly teachers' beliefs, business teachers' beliefs in the widening participation context. And therefore, because we have very little understanding of what is going on in the widening participation context, we have to look at what, you know, external literature that has been, you know, research that has been conducted on this area as a basis for exploring beliefs in the widening participation context. So it makes sense that we draw on existing literature, you know, as, you know, to establish our conceptual and theoretical framework. Does that address your question, Martin?
Thank you. It's a good update.
Thank you very much. Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so.
One quick one.
Yes, please.
Are beliefs explicit or implicit in terms of your teaching practice?
That's a very good one. I'll try to deploy the Socratic method here. Before responding to that, perhaps I'll throw it back to the audience, because I know there are quite, we've got a wealth of experience and knowledge in this session. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Our beliefs about teaching, learning, learners, are they explicit or are they implied, implicit? Before I respond to Martin's question directly, I want to hear what. Yeah.
Which is that they're both.
Yes, it is both. So there are beliefs that are explicit, that we, on a daily basis, they come through what we say, but also there are beliefs that are implicit, okay? Regardless of whether they are explicit or implicit, those beliefs influence our practice. They influence how we engage with students. They influence our view of students, what students bring to the conversation, to that interaction. But also they influence how we perceive teaching and learning, what learning means to us, okay? For example, if I think teaching is all about transmission, and perhaps I've had a teacher in my primary school days who was very good at transmission, and that teacher made an impression on me, and therefore I see teaching as being a process of transmitting knowledge. Then that belief will invariably shape and inform how I engage with teaching in the classroom environment, okay? But also it will shape how I interact with the students and how I see learning. Right. Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Right, so we're going to be looking at, in a particular context of this study, I have decided to draw on Scott's definition, because I think that resonates with what I'm trying to, it resonates with what my understanding or appreciation of teachers' beliefs is, okay? So Scott defines teachers' belief as a personal and subjective, subjective concept that hold true for the individual in question, and are generally a stable outcome of significant social experience. So if I think teaching is all about transmission, I would think that that belief is true until I'm proven otherwise, either going through some kind of training, to change my perception or interpretation of teaching, okay? Now, what do you understand by teachers' beliefs about teaching? What are the different beliefs that teachers have about teaching? If I may ask, what are the different beliefs that teachers have about teaching? Any thought, any suggestions, any comment?
Okay, that it's transmissive.
Yes, excellent. I like the choice of word, Martin. Thank you for that.
It's sometimes didactic. It's not always didactic, but sometimes.
Yes, didactic. Very good choice of words. Thank you. That comes from someone with a wealth of experience. Thank you for that, Martin.
It's a process.
A process. Very, very good, excellent choice of words. Thank you for that, Martin. Yes?
It's a skill.
It's a skill. Yeah. That resonates with some of the, ideas that different scholars have put forward. And any other input from the audience, please? Second, please. Second, Martin?
The worst one is that it's a job.
It's a job. Wow. Thank you for that, Martin. And I think everything you've said, Martin, echoes what is in the literature. Yes, I can see Prof. Harrison very eager to contribute.
No, I'll put my hand on my head. But either way, I think Martin has said many of it. I think as teachers, there are a lot of beliefs. I think also about the learners as well. So I think the nature of the type of learners, especially when you're dealing with postgrads and undergrads, so there's always a belief that there's some learners that you have to teach in a different way, and there's some
Yeah.
other learners that you have to teach in a different way. I think for many people, for some teachers, experience is also very important. So
Yeah.
you start looking at post-education experience or post-experience education as well. Those are one.
Thank you very much for that input, Professor Harrison. Right, I can see Michael is here, very eager to join us. Yes. Please, can you mute yourself?
Wait, can you
Someone is
please-
having.
Who's there? Can you mute yourself, please? Who is the person? Can you all mute yourself? Let me just mute
Yeah,
everybody.
muted the person.
Okay, that's good.
Right,
So-
so
Yeah, so
if you look at, yes,
Yeah,
Dr. Imenya.
yeah, no, I just wanted to put a footnote to what I would say Martin and the Professor Harrison mentioned in terms of beliefs. So I was just thinking that when you're talking about beliefs that builds on prior knowledge, it usually is facilitated through choice and also understanding of a student's context and interest. So I just wanted to put a footnote to that.
Excellent contribution. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that. Yeah, I think everything you guys have said kind of resonates with the literature and existing theories on teachers' beliefs
I'm raising up my
about
hand.
teaching. Yes, Dr. Bello.
Yeah, when you talk about teachers' belief on teaching,
Yes,
it actually vary
yes,
based on individual's experience or educational background or your personal philosophy. Some believe when it comes to teaching that teachers may have belief about whether learning should be more student-centered or teacher-centered. And some teachers embrace constructivism as well, belief. So it depends on individual.
excellent contribution, Dr. Rashid Bello. And I like the choice of words and the concepts you've elicited. You've talked about student-centered and learning-centered, and you've talked about things like constructivism, which are all different constructs and theories that we're going to come across as as this discussion unfolds. Okay, so I think everything you've said resonates with what I've got in place here. So generally speaking, there are 5 kinds of beliefs which constitute a spectrum. And on one end of the spectrum, you've got teacher-centered beliefs. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got learner-centered, beliefs or student-centered beliefs. Okay, and what some scholars have done is to make a distinction between those two. Okay. So you've got one end of the continuum, one end of the spectrum. Right hand, beliefs that are student-centered. Left hand, beliefs that are teacher-centered. And in between, there is, a combination of both. So it's a spectrum, okay? And just to add to that, there is this very interesting model that I took, okay, by Kimber. It's relatively old, or it's a seminal study on this particular subject. So you can see on my left that you've got teacher-centered or oriented beliefs, and on the right you've got student-centered or learning-centered or oriented beliefs. Okay, and depending on where you sit or where you stand in that spectrum, that will shape and inform how you engage with teaching, but also how you see the learners and how you see the learning and how you perceive or interpret the subject you are teaching. Okay. So just to add to some flesh to the skeleton, and to reinforce and consolidate what some of you have already mentioned, you can see that there are educators with teacher-centered beliefs. And generally speaking, those with teacher-centered beliefs focus very much on the content, you know. So it's all about the content, the content, the content. And they tend to gravitate, they tend to be inclined towards the whole process of transmitting knowledge, okay? So it's like the students are there and you are up there as a sage and you take that knowledge and pass it on to the students, okay? But also, those who subscribe to the teacher-centered approach, or those who hold these beliefs that teaching is teacher-centered, have very little consideration for what the students are doing. You know, it's all about delivering the content. They don't try to respond to the students' needs or interest or the particular direction that the learning is going. You know, they focus on getting the content delivered. But also, this kind of educators view learning or learners as passive. In other words, they are there, they don't have any role to play other than to consume the knowledge that has been, you know, the pearls of wisdom that have been handed over to them, okay? So it's like the students or the learners are a container and the educator or teacher is just there to ensure that the container is filled, okay? And generally, learning in this way involves a lot of regurgitation, reproduction, you know, okay, of facts. And generally speaking, this approach tends to move towards surface learning. On the other hand, we've got student-centered or learning-oriented educators, okay? And those who hold this particular belief are of the view that, you know, they focus on learning, what is actually taking place. They focus on ensuring that learning is actually taking place in the classroom environment, in that space, okay? But also, they don't look at students or the learners as a homogeneous bunch, but rather as unique individuals with unique qualities who bring into that learning experience something of value, who are unique in their own right, okay? And teaching in this context is viewed as a process of facilitating learning, you know, okay? Between, you know, learners, you know, students facilitate learning, you know, peer-to-peer learning, peer-to-peer support, but also there is that facilitation between the teacher and the learners. And generally, strategies such as exploration, coaching, reflection are deployed in this, you know, by educators who subscribe to the student-centered or learning-oriented beliefs to teaching, okay? And the participants or the learners are seen as active. They are actively involved in the process of creating, co-constructing knowledge. And learning is seen as a collaborative process where both the learners are interacting with their peers, but also they are interacting with the teacher, okay? And just to reinforce this particular approach to teaching, Smith, 2018, argued that effective teachers, in other words, experienced teachers who are, you know, who are very, very good at doing what they do, as learning-centered teachers, they value student diversity. They don't see students as one bunch. Rather, they see them as diverse individuals, people who come from diverse backgrounds with different learning styles, different abilities, different experiences, and they engage in that whole process of learning, and they enrich the learning, you know, interaction, the learning process, and they're able to draw on their experiences. They're able to take ownership of the learning. They're able to be accountable, hold themselves to account for their own learning, okay? And this is absolutely vital. Any questions as far as student-centered and teacher-centered beliefs are concerned? Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any questions?
Yeah, you've got a continuum, you said, or a spectrum, you called it.
Yeah, so if we go back to you know, so you can see here on the end of the spectrum, you've got teacher-centered, okay, or contact oriented beliefs, okay, and here at the very extreme, it's all about imparting, it's all about transmission, it's all about reproduction, it's all about surface learning, encouraging regurgitation, reproduction of knowledge, okay. As you move towards the right, then you slowly begin to embrace you know, teacher-centered or learning-centered beliefs. And then at the very extreme, you've got student-centered or learning-oriented beliefs. And in between, you've got, you know, a combination of both, okay? So at one point, you may find someone who, you know, exemplifies teacher-centered beliefs, but at the same time, maybe in another situation or circumstance, the same person may demonstrate beliefs that are, you know, learning-centered. But also, depending on the context, depending on the subject, you may realize that certain subjects, in certain contexts, teaching is done in a particular way, and teachers have different views or different perceptions or conceptions about teaching, about learners, about learning, but also about the particular nature of the subject that they are teaching. Does that address your question, Martin?
Oh, I didn't actually ask a question.
Yes, please.
So the question was going to be, is it really a continuum? Because I can point to my classrooms and say, well, okay, you know, I spend time on the left-hand side of this continuum imparting knowledge, imparting information, you know, pointing to the sources of data, of ideas, of concepts that I wish to leave the class with, leave the students with, but then almost simultaneously go into a process of facilitation. Now, the big question is this: is can you facilitate in a content-free context? You know, you can't facilitate without there being content.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to articulate here is that, for example, someone who holds dear or strongly to teacher-centered beliefs will have the script and they go by the script, okay? Whereas someone of your caliber with a lot of experience, you may use that content as a basis to introduce certain concepts which will form the basis of the learning activities in the classroom environment. And once that begins, then you begin to find ways to optimize or maximize learning, engaging students in different activities that will help them to make sense, to internalize some of the concepts and constructs and theories that you are trying to you know, articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Right, so without any further questions, I'm going to delve into research that talks about teachers' beliefs in business, okay? Apologies for the font size. It looks really small. I hope you can see that. Right, so generally, the literature, according to what has been articulated in the literature, business teachers believe that adopting a student-centered or learning-centered or learning-oriented approach is extremely difficult. There are some have attributed this to the particular context in which business teachers operate, which probably may be different from the context in which, say, chemistry teachers or mathematics teachers, you know, operate. First of all, in business education, you have very diverse student cohorts. You have students from diverse backgrounds, students with different academic background, students from different cultural backgrounds, students with different learning styles, abilities, okay? And that makes it really, really challenging for student-centered approach exclusively to be adopted. But also, Guma and his colleagues argue that one of the challenges, one of the issues that makes it difficult for business educators to adopt learning-centered approach is new and innovative technologies that need to be used, and this makes it really difficult. Others like Alajusta, Javi, et al. Argue that it's all about the pressures. Business educators are under enormous pressure, not only to deliver high quality teaching, not only to work with students from diverse backgrounds and achieve desired outcomes, but also to produce publications and to ensure that the business schools continue to move up in the rankings. Okay, so these are all some of the points that have been highlighted, but also the large classroom sizes makes it extremely difficult for business teachers to adopt a student-centered approach. However, some scholars have continued to make a case for business teachers to adopt a learning-centered approach. And they say that regardless of the size of the classroom, regardless of the diversity in the student cohort, that with the use of technology, business educators can adopt student-centered approaches. But also, a strong case has been made for adopting a student-centered approach because this fosters deep as opposed to surface learning. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
That's sorry, I'm hogging the limelight again, but the use of ICT, in my view, in the classroom doesn't foster a deepening understanding and learning. It actually encourages more superficial learning and creates a tendency towards lack of comprehension, lack of engagement. But that's just my personal experience.
Yes, and I think what you've said, Martin, echoes, reflects the stance that have been taken by some academics on the use of ICT. So there is different scholars have different views as to the role of ICT, in enabling learning, and some will argue that it doesn't really engender deep learning. Rather, it fosters surface learning, and so others will argue, will provide a different view to that. So it depends. There is no right or wrong answer. I think, as Martin has pointed out, you've clearly articulated your view, and I think that also may be reflective of some of the beliefs that we have. Right. So going forward, why do we care about beliefs? Why are beliefs important? And I think what I'm trying to convey here is that there is a direct relationship between the beliefs we have as teachers, business educators, and the way we show up in the classroom environment, the way we engage with teaching, the kind of strategies we deploy, how we interact with the learners, but also what we consider learning to be all about. Okay, and I think there is a body of literature, that body of knowledge that has clearly underscored the link between beliefs and classroom behavior or classroom practice. Okay, Brown et al. In their study on using structural equation showed that espoused beliefs of primary and secondary school teachers about teacher feedback were directly associated with their enacted feedback practice in diverse ways. Similarly, Kim et al. Found that the links between beliefs relating to knowledge and learning, effective teaching approaches and strategies, and the use of technologies, that all three variables were positively correlated. Okay, so this is evidence, strong evidence to support that there's a linkage between the beliefs teachers have and the classroom practice. Okay, how, our view about feedback, our view about teaching, our view on learners, our view on, learning will show up in diverse ways in that classroom space and how we engage with the learners. And I think this is absolutely vital to appreciate. However, we know very little or nothing about what is going on in the widening participation space. We don't know much about, the beliefs of business educators, particularly those who are operating in the widening participation space. And given the caliber of students we are working with, given the unique characteristics of the context in which we operate, I think it's absolutely vital to understand not only the beliefs that teachers, business teachers bring to teaching, business teachers' beliefs about learning and learners, but also how those beliefs shape and inform, their classroom practice. Okay, it is in the light of all this that I have, decided to embark on this journey. Hence, the overarching aim of this study, which is to explore business teachers' beliefs in the widening participation context with a view to understanding the extent to which those beliefs are reflected in their practice. Okay. What I intend to do is to understand the linkages and to see whether or not the beliefs that business teachers, have are consistent with their classroom practice or inconsistent with their classroom practice. If they are consistent, why are they consistent? If they are inconsistent, why are they inconsistent? And to use that as a basis for some kind of intervention that will help teachers align their beliefs with their classroom practice, which of course has a direct bearing on not only student learning achievement, but also on overall performance, okay, and student experience. And of course, in light of that, these are the particular questions that I'm asking. What are business teachers' beliefs about teaching, learning, learners, and the nature of business management? To what extent are the expressed beliefs consistent or inconsistent with their practice, and what accounts for the inconsistency or consistency? Okay. So in order to undertake this particular study, I intend to generate or gather data using a wide range of methods. So in relation to the first question, I'll be using semi-structured interviews to be able to, elicit the beliefs that teachers think they have. And then I'll follow that up with classroom observation to see how those beliefs translate in practice. Okay, prior to the observation, I will have some kind of pre-observation discussion with the teachers, just to have a sense of, what they think about their beliefs. And then once I've had that observation, I'll follow that up with post-observation discussion, giving the teacher the opportunity to reflect on what they think, how they think the session went, what beliefs they think were reflected in their actions, classroom activities, and how they think their practice could be improved, or how they think we could align their beliefs and classroom practice. Okay, so as a form of intervention, I intend to deploy, among other tools, non-directive coaching, which is something which I believe, builds on the needs of the learner, follows the interest of the learner, but also it's very, very powerful in the sense that it puts the onus of learning on the teacher. Okay, it gives the teacher or the teacher learner the opportunity to take ownership and responsibility for their own learning. Yeah. So I think that concludes today's proceedings from my end. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Okay, first, thank you so much, Lawrence, for this. It's great, a very fantastic presentation. Well done to Lawrence. I think we found it very valuable, very insightful and very engaging as well. I like the manner that you were able to engage everybody and get everybody to talk, ask questions. So well done for that. I found it very useful. So any questions for Lawrence? Any questions for, I know we've asked a couple of questions already. So do you have more questions about Teachers Village? Okay, Martin.
Okay, so what happens, Lawrence, if we're in a classroom and our fundamental beliefs, which you've said are stable over time in the classroom setting, what if those are challenged? What do we do? How do we feel? What happens then?
Excellent question. And I think that is where teacher learning and reflection comes into play. So going back to the literature, the beliefs we have about teaching, those beliefs are relatively stable, and perhaps they come from different places. I gave an example of, say, a primary school teacher. I'm just using that as an example. So my primary school teacher, if I saw him as, eloquent, as good at transmitting knowledge, that would be my understanding or appreciation of what teaching is all about, which is transmission, and those, I will continue to subscribe to that belief until there is an opportunity for those beliefs to be questioned, to be interrogated, and for them, to be altered. And that could happen through some kind of, it could happen in the classroom environment where maybe a colleague or a student challenges the teacher and says, actually, these beliefs, we don't subscribe to these beliefs. And then you have a chance to reflect and, reconsider your beliefs and maybe go for some kind of training. Or maybe I'll have these beliefs over time. And then by the time I go and attend a seminar and see someone presenting who subscribes to a student-centered belief or student-centered or learning-centered approach, then that will give me an opportunity to actually reflect and begin to question my own beliefs. Going back to the literature, the beliefs we have will remain until there is an opportunity for those beliefs to be altered. And those beliefs could be altered in diverse ways. You could go through, you could attend a seminar, you could have, say, some kind of mentoring, or you could go through coaching. There are diverse tools that can be used to alter teachers' beliefs. And I think that is why it's very, very important as teacher educators in the business management context for us to constantly reflect, for us to constantly learn, and for us to, ask questions, reflect on our beliefs, the beliefs we hold. Are those beliefs helping our learners to get the most out of the experience? If not, what could we do as teacher educators to be able to alter our beliefs with a view to enriching the student experience?
Thanks very much, Martin, for that question. Thanks, Lawrence, for the answer. I totally agree with you because of most of the time, beliefs are usually very hard to change. I know, like, to alter people's beliefs, to alter people's conceptions. So it's difficult, but what like you said, mentoring is key, coaching is key. Those kind of platforms, opportunities would help alter people's beliefs. Clearly, it's some people, their beliefs have been shaped by their prior experience, by their childhood, by their culture.
Yeah.
So when they have a coach and they sit and are able to state clearly, okay, this is why I think like this. This is why I feel that students are like this. Some people might have a wrong mentality about higher education or even further education, but coaching, mentoring, and other mechanisms that you stated will be definitely very useful. My question for you is, you spoke about carrying out an empirical study on this. So when do you intend to carry this out? What's going to be your context? I know you said teachers in widening
Yes,
perspective.
so excellent question, Professor Christian Harrison. Thank you for that. Yes, I intend to undertake that study here. If you look at our student body, the vast majority of the students we have are from the widening participation context, and being a business school, JMB as being a business school, it is absolutely vital to understand the beliefs that we have as teacher educators, as business educators, but also to see how those beliefs translate in practice. And sometimes we say we have certain beliefs, but when you observe the practice, those beliefs are not consistent with with our practice. And sometimes, having that understanding will be the starting point, asking colleagues about their beliefs, but also going to the classroom environment and observing how the beliefs they profess are reflected in their practice, and the degree to which those beliefs are consistent or inconsistent with their practice will be a good starting point for some form of intervention, action research that is aimed at helping teachers improve their practice, which by extension will contribute in improving students' achievement, student outcomes, and overall student experience. Yeah, so I plan to do that in the business school.
You plan to do that in the business school. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thanks, Lawrence, for that. Any more questions for Lawrence? We have questions. You have questions for Lawrence? Anything you want to ask or feedback? Either way, it mustn't be questions. It could be comments. Any questions from people here? It's great to have everybody here. So,
and just a quick one.
Okay.
Beliefs, like Professor Harrison said a while ago, very often the beliefs people have, they are unfounded. They are not rooted in evidence. Unlike knowledge, which is evidence-based, is backed by evidence, beliefs very often are not rooted in any form of evidence. It could be something because somebody told you something, and then you subscribe to it. You believe that what they told you is truth, and you carry that belief all your life until that belief is challenged. You would continue to think that that particular belief is true. And everybody who subscribes to a certain belief, they always believe that what they believe in is true until they are proven otherwise. So belief, unlike knowledge, very often are not rooted in evidence.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lawrence, for that. Of course, for clarifying and explaining better about what beliefs are. Everyone has their own belief, like Lawrence has rightly pointed out. So you just need to ensure that our beliefs are right, especially within the context of higher education. Any more comments, any questions, anything you want to add? No pressure.
No, Lawrence, I'd like to propose a vote of thanks from the ordinary non-professorial and non-doctoral candidates amongst us for your clarity of speaking, your energy and enthusiasm in responding to questions, and the quality of your slide handling, which is impeccable. And thank you very much for grasping the nettle and sharing your wisdom, and good luck on your journey as well. All the best.
Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you, everyone, for taking time off your respective schedules. I know you are all very busy, but you've taken time off to join this session. This session would not be what it is without your participation, without your contribution. So many thanks to all of you who have been here, who have contributed in diverse ways in making this session what it is. Over to Professor Kristen Harrison for a concluding remark.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Like Martin rightly echoed, it was a fabulous presentation. We have learned so much about teachers' beliefs as well. It's great to have more insights about that. And thank you so much for providing with your expertise over the years. Clearly, you've taught in Global Banking School, you have taught in Manchester. You have a very wide knowledge. So it's great for us to share from your insights as an expert on teachers' beliefs. So well done. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing the empirical study and getting it published in one of those CABS 3-4 star outputs so that we can see, because there is so much we really want to know how, and it's very important for student experience, because if we can alter the teacher's beliefs, then it means that higher education will be better, the student experience will be better, we'll be able to achieve our graduate outcomes and also foster employability, because that is what we want as a school and of course as a university. So it goes back to our TV strategy, really. So that's why I was really happy with this presentation, because of this presentation just suits what we support as a business school. we're teaching intensive and also research informed, and the research would support the teaching that this would also help with. So well done, Lawrence, and thanks everyone for attending. Like I said, we have more seminars to come. So this is just the third. There's another one happening on the
On the 21st of March. The fourth seminar is coming up on the 21st of March, and that will be by Professor Jeffrey Overall, who is a professor of conscious economics and entrepreneurship. So he'll be joining us to share some pairs of wisdom with the center on the 21st of March. So please keep an eye on the social media, on our social media space for more information on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Lawrence, for that. Of course, like Lawrence Daly pointed out, next month we're going to have an external professor that will be talking about consciousness, and is a professor of conscious economics. So watch that space, and that will be great. We're also having a launch as the center. So for many of you, the 20th of March is our official formal launch. So if you're in Bolton, for those of us that are not in Bolton, I think most people here are in Bolton at the moment. Mark, put that in your diary. 20th of March is going to be the launch of our center. Then we still have our conference happening on the 24th and 25th of June. So that's our international conference. And please register. If you have not submitted your papers, submit your abstract very soon. The deadline is 31st of March. It's an international conference. We have speakers, renowned speakers like John Ade, the first professor of leadership in the UK, will be there. So there are so many renowned people that are going to come for that. So it's one of the biggest conferences in the leadership space. So please register to attend. So either way, I would not take so much of your time. Thank you very much, everybody that attended. Thanks for the comments, for your questions. I hope you had a good one, and have a good evening. And hopefully we'll see you next month. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Okay.